Hello and welcome everyone to episode 157 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derrick and I'm joined by wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8, many more. And I feel like whenever we talked about like getting to Dressrosa as kind of like your first proper like foray into new One Piece content, I feel like I always kind of like tempered my praise of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, you weren't overselling it. You were excited for it, but you weren't like...
Yeah, I've never been like, oh, this is like my favorite. Like, oh, I can't wait for you to get to Dressrosa. It's kind of like, there's a lot of individual things about this that I love, but I kind of remember the construction, you know, kind of being so like, This arc is awesome.
Yeah, this is damn good arc. Like for all the sets we've done, I've not been bored. The pacing hasn't felt off. Things are just constantly happening. It is a return to the pacing we have praised so many times throughout the course of this podcast, and that we kind of lost a little bit in both Fishman Island and Punk Hazard. And I'm more forgiving about Punk Hazard than most, it feels like. But I think this is just Oda back in the top of his game.
Yeah. This feels like a return to just like good, proper One Piece, right? Like it's sort of like, it's like Alabasta, but not really. It kind of has sort of the bombast, like the energy and the urgency of like an Enies Lobby, but it's also still not quite like it's doing its own thing.
Yeah, you
but
get vibes of the others, but it's not the same. It's not like a retread.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what it is too, because like I guess after a certain point, right? Because I mean we had that 100 chapter stretch, you know, from Sabaody through Marineford where it was just kind of Luffy by himself, and then of course, you know, having the first 2 time skip arcs where it's kind of like you know, it's a little more lethargic almost. Mm-hmm. This really feels like we are back to like good old fashioned no holds barred classic One Piece.
Yeah,
I'm living it. It's great.
You know, it really does feel like that the tournament itself is kind of like really serving its purpose as an anchor point for all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, because we kind of see it happening from other perspectives all throughout the set.
Mm-hmm. It's Oda starting to reveal layer after layer about how the tournament is more important than just getting Ace's Devil Fruit back.
Yeah,
and things like that. It is opening up where all of a sudden it seems to be the most centralized thing that everything will just coalesce there. Like, I'll be honest, I'll be shocked if Luffy leaves the Colosseum at all during the course of this arc. I think people are just going to come to him at this point. It really does feel like that based on what we've seen so far and some of the setups we've had.
It is just like kind of, like it's been really fascinating to see how we kind of started with all of these sort of split perspectives and split little subplots, and we're just like every little thing kind of ties into something else that all kind of ties into something else that ties into this whole greater piece. Mm-hmm. So reading it in chunks of 5 chapters for the past month, like it is like brilliant how well constructed this arc is so far.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just having a blast. And I mean, there were some parts in here, and of course we'll be starting here soon. I cracked up. Like, I legit I cackled at some of the reveals.
Yeah. And that's great too, right? Because this is all new for you, so it's not like, oh, I remember this. Like you're able to kind of experience some of these gags and reveals for the first time, just completely unspoiled, which is just perfect. Yes. I love it.
Yes. So let's get to it, because I have seen a bit of a burst in energy from a lot of people that just like, oh, I'm so glad you're getting to this and finally seeing this stuff, or I've been looking forward to you getting to this. So it's cool to have everybody so excited.
Yeah.
This aspect, this era of the podcast. Mm-hmm. So let's get to it with chapter 716, Don Chin Jao. And yeah, we got Caribou still going on, and behold the fate of the grandmother of Revolutionary Army Captain Gaburu and all the men.
So he is part of the Revolutionary Army.
Yeah, I guess so. This cover story is so much more fascinating than you would have thought when you.
It really is.
Like when we
it's
saw
kind
it
of not even
Caribou,
really.
Like,
yeah, at this point, it's not even really about Caribou. Like it kind of is, but Yeah, no, this one's going places.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, we got the confirmation we've seen this guy before thanks to the bits. I'm trying to remember exactly what he did. I don't think it was anything too important, but it's this pirate we have here, and I'm blanking on his name. We see it later. Is still just like, what is the deal? And it's just,
Yeah,
I gotta say, I'm actually kind of curious where it's gonna end up.
this is a long one too.
Yeah, it's been going for a while. But let's get to the chapter itself, because last time we got Kelly Funk somehow doing a fusion with his brother.
I love how you clocked that.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw the elements of both of them. I was like, did they do a fusion dance or whatever? What is that all about? It's so weird. And nothing could have prepared me for what the actual answer is. This might be the most cursed fruit ever.
It really is.
So we got Kelly Funk just beating the ever-living crap out of Boo. And it's just like, where'd this come from? How is this happening? And it turns out that Kelly Funk's brother, Bobby, is blessed with an extremely powerful body. We saw the hockey-covered axe just break off on him. And, he's really powerful, but he's a coward. However, Kelly Funk has a devil fruit. He's a jacket man. He can turn his body into a jacket that his brother then puts on, which facilitates the fusion where they come together like this. And he basically takes over his brother's body.
It's
what?
the imagery is incredible. Of just having God, I'm sorry, I always forget. So Kelly Funk is the one with the fruit. Where he's just like flayed on the ground, just like completely flat
with a zipper, and
the zipper open.
If this wasn't One Piece, this would be grotesque because
it's a body horror fruit.
Seriously, I'm struggling to think of a more cursed fruit than this thing.
Yeah,
he does kind of have to work with his brother for this because anything that puts him on, man, animal, or monster, he can control, but it has to put him on. He can't move. He can't take over the body. They have to willingly do it.
Which is the funniest thing to me because it has to be voluntary. Like he can't force himself onto another person. So this power is it's so dumb.
It really is. Like you can see the use of it, but it's also like, I mean, how much control does he exert? We don't know because his brother's still in there, but I got no clue. But yeah, Kelly Funk has completely taken over his brother. They've utterly destroyed Boo, and now he's like, your brother's going to take me on. So what, you're going to try to get revenge for your brother? It's like, nah, my brother lacked discipline. It's like, that's harsh, and he goes for his own sort of version of the Gatling with the rah rampage.
It feels even more explicitly Star Platinum coded.
Yes, very much so. Our other brother here, I'm blanking on his name.
Is it Sai?
Sai, yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Sai here is like, the moment we became the disciples of the Hashokan style, we ceased being bound by the ties of brotherhood. But as chief of the Hapo Sui army, I always avenge my subordinates. And he proceeds to jump on top of the flying fist, like he's able to just not even get punched whatsoever, and then land like a sonic kick straight to the head of Kelly Funk, and he is down. I
kind of like how serious business these guys are.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I was like, oh damn, it's Kelly Funk seemed to be pretty powerful taking out that one guy, and then he gets taken out in one go. It's like it's a nice escalation.
Yeah, I do definitely feel like, I think because Block C has so much more of a particular focus in terms of its conflict, as we'll see here in a bit. I feel like the rest of the folks don't get to shine quite as much.
No,
but it's really good at showing that Don Chin Jao's are these grandsons?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. That they're all business too. They're plenty strong in their own right.
Absolutely. And speaking of, Don Chin Jao is still after Luffy. Is like, you got to pay for your crimes. Straw Hat Luffy, your grandpa stole an uncountable fortune from me and stole my strength and the memories of my youth. Is like, that's grandpa. That's not me. So no, death is too lenient. He must now live with them and know the same misery of my loss. And all the while, here comes the guy who keeps stealing weapons. I forget his name off the top of my head. It's after a week because I don't think they really say it.
No, I don't think they do, and I don't remember either.
It turns out not to matter too much.
It's John something. Oh,
yes.
I remember his first name. I don't remember his last name.
But we find out as a bounty hunter, he's been hunting down the people that have escaped Impel Down.
Yeah.
And I love how he even transformed his hat. He's like, I'm trying to complete the entire set, starting with you and Buggy, Jimbei, Sir Crocodile, Ivankov, Shiryu, like all of you. I'm going to hunt down and make a name for myself. And all the while, Luffy's just sort of dodging with no issue.
He's like, oh, how's Eva doing?
And Luffy's like, wait, some of the people from level 6 escaped too, because he's talking about this. And the guy's just like, why can't I hit you? And then the best part of this is Luffy's dodged all this time. You don't see where those weapons have been going. You turn around or you get a page turn. They've all just embedded themselves in Don Chin Jao's stomach.
Yes. He's just like, stop poking me, you punk.
And then headbutts him, and down he goes.
John the Bandit. Okay.
John the Bandit. Okay. Yeah, John the Bandit. There it is. But I'm sorry, that was a great payoff. Just like, that's where all it went. It didn't hurt him. He just, like, I think puffs out his stomach and they clank away.
Yeah, all they go. Yeah, no, again, Don Chin Jao is also kind of a monster in and of himself.
He's a bit Whitebeard coated.
A little bit, yeah, actually.
It's kind of impressive. Like, how strong would this guy be in his prime? Holy crap. Actually, we kind of get a little bit of indication.
Yeah, we kind of get a little answer of that. And it's interesting.
Yeah, I like his backstory. But that whole thing's going down between them. John the Bandit's out. And turns out in the meantime, Sai is going up against Ideo, that boxer guy that we saw before with the crazy shoulders. And they're having a pretty even match right now. And I love the commentary. It's like, oh man, it's like we're watching two huge rivals compete for the title of the mightiest in the tourney, and everybody's focused on them. It's like, are these two the favorites? And that's when Don Chin Jao spots Luffy, and Luffy's like, I don't hold a grudge, but I can't win until I beat you anyway, so let's go. And each of them takes out one of the others with no issue in one punch, so that they're the only ones left, and it's their big clash with the hockey.
Yes. And that's also I think I alluded to this before. I actually did not realize this is where the reveal would happen, but we do see the black lightning go off of their fists, which is now, that is sort of the manga's visual language for Supreme King Haki.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that is, yeah, it's a really cool visual, isn't it?
I mean, we got that sort of indication from the guy who's guarding the fruit. It says a collision of Supreme King Haki. Yeah.
That's why I was like, wait, did they say it this chapter or next? But yeah, no, it's there in this chapter where, that is sort of our new kind of, we had the black ink for the armament. And so now lightning is Supreme King Haki.
Oh, that's cool. I love how even the bullfish is watching them, and then the water's like, what in the, like, everybody's just sort of, holy crap.
Yeah, and also the reveal that Don Chin Jao has Supreme King Haki.
Yeah, I think we saw that last time as he was talking about it, like he had Supreme King, but yeah, just to see the clash with Luffy's, first time we've seen this, that's awesome.
Yep.
Fun chapter. I mean, it's about what you would expect. Like, you're not going to get any surprises like before, like, oh, who's actually going to be the last one standing in this group? But it's pretty obvious it was probably going to be Luffy and Don Chin Jao.
Yep.
Fun nonetheless. Again, some disturbing devil fruits, some fun reveals, but it was a good time.
It's got it all.
So let's get to chapter 717, Dressrosa's Forgotten. And we got another color spread this week. Fun bar / bath for the Chopper Man mech. Okay.
Also, I like that Law is here.
Yeah, I was actually noting that. It's like, oh, this is starting to remind me of like the Alabasta, lead up to Alabasta color spreads, because Vivi and Karu would be there. So now we got Law, Kinemon, and Momonosuke all there.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah. I wonder how many more of these that they'll be around for.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, which is not to say of like, oh, how long are they going to stay relevant in the story for? Just more of like, I genuinely didn't remember that they were in any of the color spreads. So I'm kind of like, how long is this a thing for?
I don't know. I mean, at least for the rest of this arc, it seems, if they're going to already pop up here.
Certainly.
I like how Kinemon is like smiling with them, and you can't really see Momonosuke, but Law's still sourpuss, no matter what.
He doesn't want to be here, but he's here.
He's here. He makes do. But yeah, let's get to the chapter itself. And as our commentator points out, everybody else has been knocked unconscious due to the clash between the Supreme King Haki.
Boy, that's convenient.
Yeah, that makes it easy. I mean, not that any of these guys really stood a chance.
Yep.
And I love this conversation between Don Chin Jao and Luffy. It's like, so you wield the color of the Supreme King, but what king do you seek to be? King of the pirates. It's like nonsense. There are countless souls on the seas ahead with the quality of the king. That title is decided by them. Only he who stands atop those supreme kings can be called the king of the pirates. That's fascinating. It's just like really establishing like, oh no, it's not just like you might be able to do it. It's no, there's a lineup that you have to get through, and I don't think you're good enough to do it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing, right? Because like, God, in a weird way, Don Chin Jao is kind of like the first opponent Luffy's ever fought since the time skip who has Supreme King Haki, right?
Yeah, that's
so
very true.
He's like the wall, basically. Like again, you were talking about kind of, getting some Whitebeard vibes. He's kind of like the old guard, and again, he's from Garp's generation. He's kind of almost testing Luffy, right?
In ways, but he's also like he honestly hates him. So it's
yes, of course.
It's not being set up as if it was just a test, but no, he legit hates him. But it does serve as it's more like, sort of test.
Like if you can't get through me, you have no chance, basically.
And I don't think you're good enough, but I do like that he's like, all right, who taught you the ways of hockey? Rayleigh. So he's still alive, and that makes him. He apparently hates him. I was like, oh, he's despicable slime as well. It's like, I don't want to remember the past. So I only wish to forget, yet hovering before my eyes, just out of reach lies my treasure. It's like, could there be anything more hellish than this? And it's like, now, and then he just starts crying. It's like, what is going on with this man?
Yes. And then it's just like, apparently, at least according to Boo, who's just kind of like, I thought the plan was to send you to the finals, brother, referring to Sai. He's just kind of like, well, it turns out I wasn't worthy. Once Grandpa gets that way, no one can stop him. And so he's an emotional man.
Yes, he is. And I don't know, it kind of makes me love Don Chin Jao in a weird way.
He's a real goofball. I love him.
Yeah. And his fighting style is ridiculous. He's just like, I was once called Chin Jao the Drill, but no longer. What did Garp do to me? He's like, how should I know? Make up your mind. Are you angry or sad? And
it's just Luffy's so confused.
I love this cutaway where you see Sanji and Kinemon seeing the screen outside of Luffy fighting, and rather than like, oh, you idiot, what are you doing? They're actually getting sucked into the fight.
Yeah. It's sort of great. Yeah.
It's like, all right, so the Navy's absolutely waiting outside the Coliseum. There are pirates and criminals openly competing, so they're going to try to scoop them up as soon as they walk out of that gate. And Kinemon's like, that's just natural. It's like, no, you're working with a pirate crew. So I got to learn more from Luffy about that, but I don't know how to get in. And that's when we meet another one of the vice admirals, Shark Slicer Bastille, which I believe we've seen before. He looks familiar.
I think he was at Marineford.
I think you're right. But there's an interesting problem here. The Navy's waiting to get these, at least the people who lost the fight. There should be hundreds of them coming from blocks A and B, but a single one has not left. So what is going on there? And obviously they don't know what's happened to Maynard, who got beat up by Bartolomeo.
Yep.
So, what is happening? And that I like that little extra layer of mystery. It's like, okay, what is happening to the losers?
And then I feel like, as we'll kind of learn later on in the set, you'll get like something's going on here. Like, clearly. Yeah.
There might be a slight indication of it, but yeah.
Yeah, this is no ordinary Coliseum.
Not at all. fortunately told to us by our toy soldier, who is, I love how Frankie's still just calmly going through the streets in his little tank knees.
Yeah, I love that. I guess that is the disguise that he is a toy.
I guess. But there are 2 laws that are strictly observed ever since Doflamingo's reign began a decade ago. 1, there's a kingdom-wide curfew of midnight. No one is allowed outside after that time. Not adults, nobody. It's all shut down at midnight, which is, very interesting there. Mm-hmm. 2, toys must not enter human houses, and humans must not enter the house of toys under any circumstances. And it's like, really? They seem to mingle pretty openly here, so why is that outlawed? I mean, Frankie basically like, I'm kind of getting used to you guys, so what are you? Like, you have your own free will, and you can think and talk, so whoever develops you must be a genius on the level of Vegapunk, so who was it? And the toy soldier doesn't say anything. He just sort of stays quiet.
Yeah, I love how, as I feel like it's just kind of like good storytelling fashion, right? Like we're breaking up the exposition with like actually seeing it in action with this next scene where like a toy, someone's like, the toy's broken, it's got humanitis, and it's just like, no, you have to remember, Esta, it's me, and she is just disgusted, like, and then they just drag the toy off basically.
Yeah, and he's
just like, remember me.
I get away from that goon. It's like, it's me. You have to remember. And he's like, he's screaming out, I'm a human. Like, let me go. It kind of immediately catches your attention because he's then taken to the scrapyard and just tossed in this pit.
Yep.
And that's dark. Real quick before we move any further though, if you go to the page before where you see the 2 toys must not enter human houses, I don't know if it's intentional or not. But one of the toys on the left is drawn like Akira Toriyama.
Oh, I see it.
His little,
with like the little
gas mask
thing?
Type thing.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know if it's intentional, but
yeah,
I spotted that. I was like, I mean, we know Oda's a big fan, heavily influenced by Toriyama, so it wouldn't surprise me if he snuck in.
Yeah,
his
that'll probably
avatar.
show up in an SBS at some point.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we see what happens if you make a scene that apparently you're human with the toys. But then there's this other, like we see this dog toy with a kid chasing around it. It's like, let me ride you, Onopoko. It's like, no, you're too heavy. The toy soldier calls him over, and basically are claiming like, no, you can talk to him. He's a toy too. So Frankie is sort of incognito. So who are you? And you find out that this dog toy is actually the boy's father. And the woman is his wife. His name is Milo, not Onopoko. And it's like, what? And they ask, the toy soldiers ask us, hey, is your father around, young man? Huh? I don't have a daddy. So where's your husband? My husband, I'm not even married, so isn't so strange, is it? And it's like, I love Frankie's like, what? And he's like, okay, what's going on here? So this kingdom is divided into the forgotten and the forgetters. Every toy you see in Dressrosa was once human. And 10 years ago, Doflamingo brought someone wielding dreadful powers with him and turned all these people into toys.
Yeah. And not only that, it seems to we were talking, like sort of at the beginning of this arc about like the folks with like just memory issues, right?
Yeah. I love how that's still true, even though like the flavor of memory issues I thought was not.
Oh, right.
Because I thought he'd made him forget about the fact that he'd stepped down so he could still maintain control. But no, it was just go about your business.
I really love, we don't get into it too deeply here, but I mean, what we basically have going on in Dressrosa is like, it's a two-tiered class system, basically.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, I mean, this has only been this way for the past 10 years in Dressrosa. But like to me, it's kind of calling back to like, oh, this is sort of like a city as ruled by a celestial dragon, right? Like this is sort of like kind of Doflamingo in his own way, kind of playing out his sort of beliefs about the world, sort of kind of the necessity to have, again, kind of, the forgetters and the forgotten, and that like that there's, I don't know, I get kind of vibes of like a vacation spot almost, right? Like like a you're shoving it under the rug, basically, right? Like you're trying to pretty yourself up and make yourself you're trying to maintain appearances while like this horrible thing is kind of happening in plain sight.
It's so fascinating because there's so many toys. Like what determines it, and he allows these toys to be around the people, and they don't get in trouble as long as they don't reveal that they're human. So what purpose do the toys serve? And it's like, it's a big reveal, but it just, as always, leads to more questions. Like, who's this devil fruit user? What's the purpose? Like, it's just that right amount of mystery.
Yeah.
That
definitely.
I think he did very well in Punk Hazard, honestly. So
yeah,
man, Midnight's going to play into something here because it was 3:00 when we had this meeting. So another prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if this entire arc takes place over the course of a day.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or it ends by the morning or something. I don't know, but it's who. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. God, there's a lot of questions.
But we switch over from this whole sequence because they do arrive at Flower Hill, and we move back over to Greenbit where, Law's been in a bit of trouble.
Yeah. I love it. Doflamingo's just like talking to Fujitora. It's like, you don't bother to hold back, do you? He's just like, I've always been somewhat of a lummox.
And just Law's desperate, like, Nami, pick up.
And unfortunately, that's all we get of that fight for this set, which I was hoping we get a little more.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, Law is obviously on the back foot, but we saw his outright power in Punk Hazard. So how is he losing so bad? Obviously, he's essentially taking on an admiral and a warlord at the same time, but still. We were talking about how broken he seems and he's struggling. It's like, God, how you want to see why he's losing in that way. But obviously it's like just the idea of, oh no, they're just that powerful. It's like, oh crap. Like that.
Yeah.
Steady
he's also on his own at this point too.
Yeah. They don't really stand a chance because, well, Usopp and Robin are kind of fine. Just hanging out with the Tontanas.
Yeah.
But I love how with all the, earthquakes, they're trying, like, Leo's kind of funny. He's like, oh, I'm just making sure everything's held down so nothing falls, and so we'll use my so-so fruit, so let's do that. And he sews down his own grandmother so she doesn't fall over.
God, this whole sequence just like tonally is just completely different.
So much so.
It's just kind of like, oh, we had class warfare within Dressrosa. And, oh, Law's on the back foot. It's like, oh, no, here we have a little fairy boy going out on an adventure.
Yeah, and Usopp gets info. It's like, hey, you keep mentioning a final battle. What's your problem with Doflamingo anyway? It's like they start laughing. It's like, oh, he's a comedian. No, we're saving 500 our people from the secret factory over in Dressrosa. They're being enslaved. So we need to get him back. And it's like, oh, wait, the factory.
That's the factory.
Yeah. It's like, we don't know what they're being forced to create. And one of the Tontanas being held there is our despicable, selfish, mean-spirited, fickle, irritable, annoying princess, Mancherry. So we got to hurry.
And I love that this little interaction where like Usopp's just like, is there anything good out of this princess? Nope, but she's one of us. It's just, these guys are so adorable.
Yeah. I wonder what the story is there with this Mancherry.
That's an aspect of this I actually don't remember that well.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see where that goes because I super don't remember.
But the great thing here, again, the fact that everything is just so freaking connected. The Don Quixote family is leaving the palace. I think they're heading beneath the Colosseum. So everybody's ready to fly. Let's good to go. The final battle is in Dressrosa at the secret factory beneath the Colosseum.
So, hey, that's why the factory was not an easy place to find.
Yep. And it's also in a place that the Navy can't go to.
That's also true. Yeah, it's kind of the perfect hiding place in that sense.
It really does make perfect sense. And that's why, and that's also why I declare, oh, Luffy's not leaving this Colosseum anytime soon.
Technically, he doesn't need to. The plot will come to him.
Yeah, he will just he actually is in the center of the plot. We just don't know it.
Yep.
It's kind of amazing, but again, I love the plotting of this. It is so fun. So yeah, let's just keep it going with chapter 718, Riku Army at the Flower Field, and all of a sudden, here's a Marine battleship. at the shore.
Yeah, hey, coming to save Grandma.
Yep. Here we are. What's going to happen next? We know what's going to happen next, but it's still fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get to the chapter itself, where time to meet more of the Tontatas. Because turns out there's an underground passage from Greenbit to Dressrosa, and they have a freaking airport.
Yeah, and they fly on giant, or not giant, giant to them, insects. The normal, probably, I can't tell from perspective. They fly on insects. I can't tell how big they are relative to the human characters. But
I love how Usopp is delighted because it's bugs, and Robin's delighted because it's cute.
Yes. And it is kind of, I mean, the yellow cub, the golden rhinoceros beetle, looks pretty cool. Then Pink Bee, he's just got this kind of pissed off face on him.
Oda gets to draw some fun animals with this one.
Yeah, and I love that it really is just like it is an airport. Like it is drawn like an airport. It's so cute.
You get the feeling Oda's having fun drawing these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very different looks, but also kind of similar in how they're designed. And you kind of get the sense like these are big beetles because Usopp does pick it up. And it's like, oh, never seen this species. Wish Luffy could see this. And they're just checking out that beetle, which is sort of typical size. They're all just about up to his foot. So big beetle, mm-hmm. but not like huge. But we also meet Cub and Beon, who both have devil fruits.
Yeah, and both the bug fruit.
Yeah, a rhinoceros beetle model and a hornet model. And honestly, love the look of both of them. Great designs.
Yeah. Really, really great designs.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of these bug models, these bug devil fruits, if it was a regular size human, but they work and they're cute with them being this size.
I do feel like it is kind of ironic to have you have these dwarven characters who are already small eating 2 bug fruits, so they get the small devil fruits too.
Mm-hmm. And at first I had a thought about why do these guys have devil fruits? I didn't realize it'd be that common for them. But then I thought about it, I was like, well, they're fairies and they steal things. They would have stolen devil fruits.
That makes sense.
They just naturally, with the way they're treated, would come across devil fruits and sure, somebody will eat them and they discover their powers. So I like how it all kind of makes sense in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Another thought I had, especially with this airport sequence and seeing how they're climbing and realizing how they kind of talk to Usopp and how they're so impressed by him. I was reminded of Usopp's relationship with the giants, because here's these giant men with these codas about how brave they are that he absolutely looks up to. And now with the Tontatas, he's the giant with the bravery that they're all looking up to. There's this great hero and they're riding on him in the same way as he rode on the giants. It's just like, oh, that's I don't know if it's intentional or not, but a nice circle of life type thing for Usopp.
Yeah, I could see it as mildly intentional for sure. And I think that it is Usopp specifically, right? That I don't know. We're like, Usopp is really the perfect character to kind of interact with the Tontatas because they're so sincere and so gullible. And Usopp is, of course, willing to tell a lie to get out of any situation, but like he's also willing to step up when the chips are down. So I really feel like he's gonna come through for him.
Yeah, I do too. I think these are a nice foil for Usopp. It should be a lot of fun, and get some more crazy animals with the high speed Fox Express, the 20-man bus, and they're nice and soft. They can run real fast, and I mean, Robin's impressed.
Yeah,
they're very luxurious.
Yeah. We're gonna invade Dressrosa.
Yeah, it's so funny that it's like we already got an army built up. Like we're going, like things are just coming to a head here.
The gang accidentally falls into a coup.
All right, sure. So let's go rescue our 500 friends, and that's when they start getting some exposition. It's like, oh, I suppose you must be told you are embarking upon and Usopp's like, where is this coming from? And out pops the chief from Robin's cleavage.
Of course, naturally, yes.
How did she not notice that?
How did she not notice? I mean, hey, there's a lot going on. There is. I mean, we just kind of get this hint again. We're not going to get this in the set. But he explains that we just learned about the toys, right? And that was 10 years ago. But the battle between the Tontatas and the Don Quixote Doflamingo family that oppresses us was not a decade ago. It was 9 centuries through our history. So we're getting void century stuff, man.
Yeah, I always blank a little bit about how far back the void century was.
The void century was 800.
800.
So we're before the void century.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a little taste, which we got a what, which we don't see any more of that. So that's probably Robin.
Yeah, which would be the most interest to her.
Oh yeah. So, like, and that's a cool question. There, it's like, okay, it makes sense that. Are we going to get an idea of how the celestial dragons came into power? Because he is a celestial dragon, and I feel like they benefit the most from that void century. Just a general gut feeling.
There's something there for sure. Like, there's the void century, the celestial dragons, and their power, and like it's interesting that there's a lot more to the history of Dressrosa than what initially appears on the surface.
Oh, for sure. God, it's so good. But time to learn a little bit more about Flower Hill. It's a vast field of flowers on a plateau, hidden from prying eyes, among the unbroken blanket of foliage that lies an entrance to an underground staircase spinning down and down until the valiant voices of the fairies come into range, and the toy soldier knows about all of them. And meet the anti-Doflamingo forces, the Riku Royal Army, and their staging base, which is just a bunch of tontatas.
Yes, and they're all flipping out at Frankie. It's just like, wow, that toy looks tough.
Oh, he's cool, and I love Frankie's looks of it. It's like, little people. It's just a weird face.
Oh right, yeah, because he doesn't know anything about what's been happening here.
No. And that's when he realizes, like, oh, Zoro's sword thief was actually one of these guys. And one of the tontatas are saying, hey, hurry, don't you need to go back to your ship? And he looks to the side, and here's Zoro sitting amongst all the tontatas watching their own screen of the fight between Luffy and Don Chin Jao.
Which is great. And it's like, hey, buddy, down in front. It's like it's like Zoro's watching a boxing match or something. He's mad because he didn't get to play.
Right? He's like, this is BS. I want to fight too. And they just meet up. It's like, hey, Frankie, what are you doing here? And here's some more tontatas gathering up intel from their scouts. So they know exactly where the enemy and Sugar are going. I don't believe we've met Sugar yet.
I don't think we've known Sugar by name.
Huh.
I think that is the first time we've heard this name, but yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know if they're the ones that, maybe Sugar's the one that transforms people into toys. Hard to say. Also, I don't know. I don't think it's intentional or not, but the guy in the middle there with the big beard and the mohawk reminds me of Zangief from Street Fighter.
He does, yeah, I see it 100%.
It's pretty great. Just in time for the grand battle, the legendary heroes have arrived and have come and joined the tontatas. Their names are Uso Land and Robbie Land, and they're supposed to be on the way now. And they have friends with them, and they have like everybody's names except with Land at the end. And
yeah,
they're like, oh, that's Usopp. Why would he make up a lie like that? And Zoro's
yeah.
like, I'm Zoro Land and Fra Land at your service. It's like,
yes,
amazing.
And of course, Zoro's just like, oh right, I have to go to the Sunny.
And that's his fairy or little Tata is like, that's what I've been telling you.
This is great. That's one way to have Zoro just kind of be out of the action for a little bit. Is he's just distracted.
It's a great tournament. You can't miss that. And
of course,
it is hilarious to me that Usopp and Robin just fine, heading off to meet up with everybody. Frankie and Zoro met up. They're just waiting for the staging army. You got Kinemon and Sanji out and about, but they're mostly safe. Things are okay. They're just trying to keep a low profile, figure out how they can help Luffy. Luffy, of course, is in the middle of the fight. And then everybody else, the ones who get the least amount of attention, are this poor Nami's group who's in a fight for their lives.
Yes, just being turned into just, we're talking about the jacket fruit as one of the most cursed devil fruits. I think this is also kind of up there.
Oh, God. Nami's doing her best to fight her. She's not backing down. But the poor climate baton gets turned into a toy where you see like the melting clock and whatnot from this woman.
Yes. And of course, she gets offended at Giola. How dare you call it a toy?
The one who turns people into toys is someone else in the Don Quixote family. I'm an art woman with the powers of the art fruit. And now art, or my latest masterpiece. Oh, that's a good pun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that she has really bad taste in art.
Yeah, which I feel like could be a fantastic devil fruit in the hands of somebody who is like actually a good artist.
But instead we get all these cursed images that are just, ooh. And it's not going well because when they try to fight her, they just keep doing things to them where Chopper's in one of his, like, that antler form, and his horns and hooves have been already ruined, like made soft into bunnies and feathers. And poor Brooke, his sword has been turned into a lion key. I don't even know.
Like a weird dog looking thing. I don't know.
Not so good.
Yeah, not great.
That's when this woman is like, "Oh, stop acting like victims. You should be happy to be so brilliantly vibrant. And besides, look what you did to my precious ship and my precious apprentices." So, hey, they actually were effective against her. They sank her ship that she came here on.
And in a weird way, it is kind of lucky that they got paired with, like, definitely kind of the goofy opponent, right?
Very much so, but they are extremely cursed right now.
Yes.
And then she's like, "All right, how will you be art executed?" And that's when it starts ringing. It's like, "Oh, hello? Who's this? We're in big trouble. Please help us."
Yes.
It's just like, "That you, Tony? Forget your problem. Listen to me."
Who cares about your problems? I need help.
Yeah, Law's the other one fighting for his life. It's like, "Come to the ship right now. Help us." It's like, we're all artistic. And I love how Momonosuke's like, "But I'm just fine."
Yeah, he would never admit it.
Yeah.
He needs help.
He was like, no, you need to bring the ship to Green Bit right now. I'm leaving Caesar with you. And they're like,
and then he hangs up.
Yeah. Like, have you seen the Sunny? Not in great shape. And we go back to Green Bit, and yeah, things are getting sliced and diced.
Yeah, the whole forest is coming down. Although it's interesting because they're in the forest now. The Fujitora seems nowhere to be seen.
I think he's just leaving Doflamingo to it.
Yeah, so, fair enough.
But yeah, he basically is fighting Law because he wants Caesar's heart. That's fair.
Yeah.
But Doflamingo's confident in his plan. It's like, your partner Straw has already fallen for the bait I set. He's a gladiator in the Colosseum as we speak. It's a bloodbath between lawless men who cross the seas to come here. And if he loses, he goes straight to hell. He's never coming out of that arena again. So your alliance is over.
Which I feel like is a little interesting, right? Like that. Do people leave this Colosseum?
It kind of seems like no, and we might have a reason. Well, we have two different possible reasons for it that one we know about is the factory, and the other one we'll find out later.
Yeah.
So I think Doflamingo is just confident in the fact that he was able to get Luffy to the Colosseum. That's all he needed. It doesn't matter how well he does.
Yeah. Well, I have a sinking feeling things aren't going to go his way.
Probably not. Luffy never really follows plans.
I've trapped Luffy, finally. He's like, you don't know Luffy very well.
Yeah. And we go back to Sanji and Kinemon, and Kinemon's actually getting into it. It's like, "Go, Sir Luffy, go."
Let's just say if a man enters a fight, he ought to win. he's real into it now.
But even more interesting, here comes Burgess. Catches the attention of Cavendish and Bartolomeo. It's like, who's the shrimp? And Luffy's actually using his gum fruit. And somehow nobody's picking up on this.
Right. Who's the stretchy lad in the arena?
Oh, that's so weird. We do have an SPS where somebody actually from Spain sent a letter in. And
which is really cool.
Yeah, and talking about like, "Oh, you got inspired by us. What inspired this?" Like, and hey, if you get a chance to visit Spain, come to our manga anime convention. Our women won't stab you. And Oda actually mentions like, "This is a condensed letter I received from Spain. The Japanese was strange in a few places, so I think he might have used one of those auto translation sites." It is based on Spain outside of the arena. And, if I get anything not incorrect, don't worry about it. It's just a manga.
Not intended to culturally offend, I hope.
Yeah. Which man, if they were able to get into the SBS from Spain, they had to have been importing the manga and reading the Japanese or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty cool. The other SBS was a request to see the worst generation as in gender swapped, which we'll see after the next chapter. So
should be fun.
That'll be interesting to talk about. All right, let's get to chapter 719, Open Chin Jao. And who's riding on that Navy vessel? Why, it's none other than Captain Gabaru, who's alive and on the scene. And I saw some people note like what was Caribou's plan, because I think there's the idea that Caribou was seen by the revolutionaries. He was not. Mm-hmm. He was always just sort of mugging in front of the camera and not really revealing himself, and they never noticed him. He was observing this, and he was like, huh, but he never acted on it. So nobody noticed him other than the grandma.
Yep.
So that's why they're shocked, is like, because they're all dressed up as Gabaru now, and apparently Gabaru's crew, which, okay, I guess he is trying to save grandma.
All right. Hey, he's I'm not convinced necessarily, but
he sees something in this for him, but what? We'll
certainly. Yeah. We'll have to see. Maybe more meat pies.
Maybe. But we get into the fight between Luffy and Don Chin Jao, and God, I love Don Chin Jao's fighting style. It's so dumb and weird and fun, where he gets knocked over and he just like bangs his head into the ground in order to lift himself back up.
Which is like, his head can support all that weight.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's
a pretty even fight between the two of them, all things considered. It's pretty cool. And apparently it's extremely fast. And like the announcer is like, this might be one of the greatest battles ever fought in the history of the Coliseum.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Don Chin Jao's like, it's not good enough.
No. You're just children drunk on the infamy of your worst generation mantle. But you're incapable of crossing that sea, the one we fought so valiantly. So with Whitebeard's passing, the next era will be woefully unworthy of the challenge. He says the only one true potential that can actually do it is Blackbeard Teach. And if you can only match me in my current fangless state, there's no hope for you. So give up on the pirate life. If Rayleigh's chosen this unremarkable boy for his champion for the new age, then he's grown foolish indeed. The Navy's bold move 2 years ago has proven wise. Stamping out Ace in his demon's blood was a master stroke. And that's all he needed to say. Ooh,
yep.
Ooh.
You said the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm. But we end with this line from him. It's like, you think you can trounce the naval admirals and 4 emperors and surpass Roger's legend? Don't make me laugh. And that's all Luffy needs to hear, to just like gum rocket off of his head way up high into the sky. And we take this time to see what happened 30 years ago that built up this hatred within Don Chin Jao. I love this backstory. It's amazing.
So it's kind of touching and dumb and hilarious all at the same time.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Because we get to see Don Chin Jao in his prime, black hair and all, and his skull is actually he's a conehead.
Yeah, he's actually a conehead. Because he said he was formerly called like the Drill, like Don Chin Jao the Drill or something like that.
Yeah. And there's a pirate's treasure within, but nobody can get to it. The pickaxes won't go through, the fire won't melt it. It's just not working. However, we heard mention that a continent known as the Crystal Ice Sheet was cracked before. Sure enough, his drill dragon nail allows him to open it up.
Yeah. And that's the best thing to me, is that like, not only is he like an actual conehead, but he coats his conehead in a hockey to open up the ice.
Yes.
It's kind of hype, even though it's really stupid.
It is. And it's the perfect place to hide his treasure, because nobody can access it other than him, thanks to his ability. So Any thieves try to take it, they can't get at it. And it's the entirety of his life is contained within this room of ice. The joys and struggles of my past and the hopes of my future. And yeah, he's the 12th chief of the Haposui army, Chin Jao the Drill. Centuries worth of our people's treasure, and only my drill head can unlock this room. So it's not just his treasure, it's the entire Haposui army's treasure.
And then here comes Garp to ruin it all.
Yep.
Well, and I love this because we transition scenes here. Garp is like, Garp is like, I used 8 mountains as sandbags, pulverizing them to dust just so I could snap that head of yours today.
That was his training arc, beating up mountains so he could take on Chin Jao.
Yes.
Nothing in this world is harder than his head, he claims, though. So they have a massive clash between Garp's hockey fist and Chin Jao's cone head. And Garp wins out to the point that the cone head recoils into Chin Jao's skull and gives him the sort of concave look that he currently has.
And that's why he hates Garp so much.
Yes. Defeated, not captured, but defeated, and has no way to get back to that treasure.
There's nothing more worse than taking a treasure from a pirate, right?
Right. And especially when it's generations worth. We see an above ground shot. There is so much treasure under there. Nami would lose her mind.
Yeah.
He's literally bashing his skull into this ice, trying to open it up again, but he can't because he doesn't have the drill anymore. So that's why he curses him for all eternity and had to leave the pirating life. And he lost his strength, his fortune, and will to go on. It is a stupid backstory, but it's such a good backstory too.
Yeah, that's why. Like because you understand why he cares so much, even though, yeah, like Don Chin Chao's motivation is really silly and ridiculous, but like he sells it so well.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he, like, in these short few, like 8 pages, he actually got me to care.
Yeah. It was a great backstory. You do care about all this, and it's rare you get villain backstories in this way.
Especially for, certainly not a, he's not like a major arc villain or anything like that. Like, this is, kind of a, I don't want to call him fodder necessarily, but like he's not Doflamingo, right? Like he's not even part of Doflamingo's army. Like he's just kind of, this is sort of the part where Luffy kind of has to prove himself against like the old generation. Mm-hmm. I also like that we're kind of seeing kind of Garp in his prime is really cool too. Like he looks a bit like Luffy and Dragon.
Yeah, it's a cool look, and God, it really does show how strong Garp was.
Oh yes, absolutely. Like,
Good God.
We've established Garp is kind of a monster in his own right.
You gotta love how Axe Hand Morgan thought, of course I can take out Garp with my axe hand, and the only reason he got anything was because he was asleep.
Yep.
Oh God, but yeah, Luffy gets ready his Gear 3 to finish this fight off, and Chin Jao just is like, one strike for your grandpa's fist stole everything from me, and now you must pay. And Luffy's just like, that's just one punch. He punched me countless times. So suck it up.
I like Luffy's reactions to Don Chin Jao. Like it's a kind of bewilderment we don't see from him that often.
Yeah.
It's just like, which again, I feel like is kind of what makes Luffy so great in this tournament, is that he is kind of the straight man to all these weirdos.
Very much so. But we see the clash between the non-drill dragon and the Gum Gum Thor elephant gun. And I told you I cackled during this set. This is where I cackled. To see him hit the head and then see the back of his head form back up into a cone. And I'm like, oh my God.
And not only that, it sends Don Chin Jao flying headfirst into the Colosseum, where his newly reshaped cone head breaks it in half.
Which means he can definitely access the ice again.
Yep.
Which is amazing. I love how it cracks. He goes in and it sort of sloshes back up where it's not like fully formed, but it's like he's still like in the center. It's like, oh, sure, out of bounds.
Yeah.
And yeah, Luffy is, of course, the winner of Block C. And Cavendish is like, oh, I'm ready to kill this guy. This guy has to die. And Bartolomeo is like, no, I told you, you're not going to get him. It's like, no, if you try to stop me, I'll get rid of you too, Bartolomeo. And Bellamy's sort of listening from the side, just like wondering what's going through his head. And here's the other great thing is where Burgess says, did he say Straw Hat? Oh, so that's what's going on. And love these pieces falling together.
Yeah. Looking forward to the next chapter.
For sure. But before we end off this chapter, we get to see that SBS where we find out what the gender bent forms of all these pirates are. All the worst generation. And I gotta say, some of them I kind of prefer.
Yeah. Female Gang Beach kind of does things to me.
Yeah.
It's not a sentence I thought I would say. Kind of almost like kind of Alvida-ish almost.
Kinda. It's amazing. Like, that's a good look for a female pirate. We don't get to see much from Oda. That's good.
Right. Yeah. It's not really that exaggerated. Like, she just looks cool.
Yeah. And then Kid and Lol are weirdly hot. I don't like it.
Yeah. Lol definitely just kind of looks like Robin.
Yeah. Apu is, I kind of like the nerdy look.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Oh, I did want to double back. Like Kid, I didn't want to skip over, but yeah, right. Kid actually looks great.
Yeah, Kid looks really good. That's a nice, unique design for a woman in One Piece world.
Yeah.
Though the look for I forget his name, Rouge, I think his name is, right? The angel.
Yes.
Not a fan of his look.
Yeah, a little cursed.
Yeah. Although I will say, interesting that he seems to have a scar now on his head.
Oh yeah.
Huh. So first look there. And I love how Bonnie, she just looks like a vagrant as a guy.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if we knew that she had a ring next to her eye anymore. I think that's new.
I think that is new. Well, yeah, it's funny that Oda specifically said, I'm not going to use Blackbeard because I haven't shown his time skip design yet. And here we have a bunch of characters who maybe had changes in their time skip designs I just didn't notice previously.
Yeah, they're not major.
Yeah.
The other three, honestly, Drake, he looks like something out of Nier Automata. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the bandage over his eye.
Yeah.
The eye.
Yeah, I could see it.
But yeah, fun designs all around. But shall we get to our final chapter for the set?
Yeah, let's do it.
720, Prisoner Gladiators. And we just have a full-on fight between...
Yeah.
between
I love the title for this one. It says, liberate the proletariat, liberate the old hag.
He really is just trying to save the old hag with his pirate crew.
Comrade Caribou. Get in there.
Amazing. Never would have guessed this was where this was going. What in the world? Yep. Oh, goodness. But time to break it down. It's a battle royale at the Corte Coliseum. We have 3 winners so far. Jesus Burgess, Bartolomeo, and Lucy. But it's before we can begin Block D, we got to fix the ring. So we need 15 minutes, which is honestly pretty impressive work.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, that's fast, man. But also pretty, I don't know. That's also a trope I love in tournament arcs is like, hey, hold on, we got to fix the ring real quick.
It's pretty great. Bring out the spare ring, and here's Cavendish, like, Straw Hat, there's no escape. And I love how Luffy just gets ready, like, spits on his hand, says, cabbage, and catches the Durandal before it can pierce him.
Yes. And then I was wondering if how you reacted to this, because we learned a little bit about Bartolomeo in the scene.
I had all these guesses about Bartolomeo, and at first I thought I was right, because you get this weird look from Bartolomeo. It's like, what's going on? He was talking about Straw Hat again. And these 2 random guys are just like, does he mean the Straw Hat, the one who failed to save his brother in the Paramount War? And this catches his attention. It's like, if not saving him is the only reason that guy's famous, I could do the same thing. And all of a sudden he starts crushing these 2 between 2 separate force fields. It's like I'm being squished. It's like, who do you think you're laughing at? You listen to me and listen up good. The great Straw Hat Luffy is the man who's going to lead this era soon. He's the future king of the pirates. And I'm like, what? Because my thought was when he started squishing him is like, I thought it was feeding into my theory about him being the brother of Moria, because he also failed to save his brother. That sort of thing. I have that sort of connection where he sort of, I don't know, looks up to him a bit.
Yeah.
In his own way. But then to have him being like, wait, you think he's going to be king of the pirates? What? Like, that was just a curve I did not see coming. Also, real quick, I love how Bartolomeo's skull on the back of his shirt is just Brook right now with the arm.
Yes.
But yeah, he said he actually goes on. It's like, I saw that for myself over 2 years ago at Rogue Town in the East Blue. On the very execution stand, I saw Luffy cry out in his darkest hour that I'm going to be king of the pirates. And in that instant, the heavens cast down a bolt of lightning and freed him from his plight. I witnessed a miracle. And he's actually crying now.
Yes.
Ever since then, I've followed his exploits. Alabasta, Enos Lobby, Impel Down, the fateful Marineford. It was all so unbelievable. I was a small-time kingpin ruling a humble criminal underworld with no more than a mere 150 towns under my thumb. I love how he's like massively successful, but he's so humble.
There's this bit here where he's just like, one of his underlings is like, I got those enemy thumbs you wanted, boss. Toss them out. He doesn't care anymore.
I finally made up my mind. And we're going to hit the seas. So go on, repeat yourself. Tell us what a badass you are that you can even look down on Mr. Luffy like you just did. And I like how he's like, has his knife, like, holy crap, he has his knife in this guy's tongue.
Yeah.
And then he just says, just what are you capable of, you miserable little maggot? And just slice. He sliced the guy's tongue. Man. Good God.
And that's what I love about Bartolomeo. The like he is a rough and tumble, and we've heard like that was already been established. Like he is a hardcore gangster, but like it almost feels like a bit out of like One Piece fan letter. Right, where it's like somebody who has to keep up appearances, but then like their inner self is like, he's just a big Luffy fanboy.
He is absolutely a Luffy fanboy. Yeah. And just seeing his moments after this, I did not see this coming at all, and it is freaking amazing. It is essentially, fittingly enough, in a bonus episode, we talked about the One Piece fan letter special. What was one of the storylines of that? A rough and tumble Marine leader who really loves Chopper and hides his love for Chopper because he's so cute. This feels the same.
it really does. And also fun to note, which is I feel like a fairly appropriate translation. In Japanese, Bartolomeo calls him Luffy senpai.
Which makes sense. I mean, in my head, it's just like, oh, it's like, you know, how Gohan in the States would just call Mr. Piccolo.
Yeah. There's very like this whole sequence actually where like Luffy is, you know, fighting off Cavendish, and like Bartolomeo is like he's the secret admirer, just like I could never get so close. Like he's just like
he's so cool.
I can't see through the tears, right? Like it's very like, why doesn't Senpai notice me?
And it's like, I wish I could just kill him and protect my hero. And it's like, oh, he's trying to call out to him to like distract him. He's like, hey, you cavity. He's like, oh, I'm stammering. And then here comes Chin Jao and his two grandsons. It's like, hey, listen up. Our Gramps has something he wants to say to you. And Luffy's like, oh, come on. I already won the fight. I'm already holding off this idiot. Let me go.
Yeah. Again, poor Luffy. He's just surrounded by funny men, and he is in the rare straight man position.
Yes, because Chin Jao is like, even my hatred for Garp has vanished. I wish to express the enormity of my gratitude. Allow me with this word of thanks, and he kneels, but it splits the ground. And causes Luffy to be like, I got to get out of here. I'm gone.
Yeah. Luffy's like, nope.
And Bartolomeo was like, he passed right by me.
Yeah. And then here's an interesting little thought bubble from Chin Jao where he's like, as thanks for returning the shape of my head, I wish to place my grandson's Haposui army under your command.
Yes. And that's the thing that sort of triggered a memory here. I thought it happened earlier. But I vaguely remember some way of having, what's the way to put it? Luffy gets himself a bigger crew, or at least a pirate alliance, in the same way as Whitebeard, where he has all these these other pirates that sort of follow under his lead. I remember hearing about that at some point. I did not realize this was the beginning of it, with him curing Chin Jao is kind of going to get him his own kind of pirate army.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense when you kind of think about it, right? Because we've already established that, like, to kind of go toe-to-toe with the Emperors, like, the Emperor pirate crews are huge. Like,
yes.
They really are these kinds of, like, all over the New World. You kind of have, like, sub-crews, and those crews have sub-crews, and, you know, we're talking things operating on a bigger scale than ever before. So if you wanted to take them on, it would make sense that you would at a certain point, the scale would get too big for Luffy and just like the 9 Straw Hats to kind of handle everything by themselves to take on all these emperors.
We've seen them take on thousands, but obviously we've seen the caliber of fighter once you get to like the Whitebeard side of things and just even the sub crews and all that. It's a lot to take on. So the fact that he has the respect of Chin Jao now and in an army potentially under his command is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Luffy just inadvertently got himself a whole.
Yeah. It feels like a side quest reward. Help out the old man. Help him fix his head. I will say, of course, as is the natural course of things with One Piece and it comes to spoilers, it's not going to go exactly the way you think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a little more interesting than just like, oh, he has an army now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figure it's not going to be that simple, but it's still really fascinating and fun that he's like, oh, he's kind of inadvertently building himself up to take on the 4 emperors. Weird.
Yeah.
As he's running away, somebody grabs his hand. Rebecca. It's like, hey, this way. You seem to have made a few enemies, so let's get out of here. And that's when Luffy overhears, like, doesn't that go for Shiryu too? But I just can't bring myself to trust Aokaji's word on this.
Which, hey, wait, hold on.
Yeah, what's going on with that? What's Aokaji talking about? I'm guessing he means Kuzan because we don't have an Aokaji anymore.
There seems to be some kind of collusion going on here between Kuzan and the Blackbeard pirates. Which is just an interesting, like, that caught my eye as something like, that's an interesting little kind of throwaway line, right? Like, we'll come back to that. Don't worry about that. That's a tuck it in the back of your head kind of information.
What's going on there? That's fascinating. But yeah, Burgess is just coming. He's like, hey, just a second. It's Straw Hat. It's like, oh. And Blackbeard's just like, oh, are you there, Straw Hat? And he's just taunting him.
Teasing him, yep.
It's like, and just like, it's been a while. I hear you're an attorney, Lucy. But the flame fruit is going to Burgess, sorry to say. I'm so excited. It'll be like having my very own ace on the crew. Ever since the original one turned me down, of course. And Luffy's like, yeah, you're not going to get your hands on that. And I love how I love how the transponder snail take on the traits of...
Yeah, right, because we haven't seen Timeskip Blackbeard yet, but we have the transponder snail with, like, the 6 beards.
He actually does have a beard now.
Yeah.
That's fun. I think he's transforming more into the Blackbeard that's more well known in actual stuff. I actually don't remember when we see Blackbeard for the first time, like in full. I have a feeling it's going to be a long time.
Oh my God. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I have no clue when his time skip reveal is. Like, I cannot place where it is. I know what he looks like now, but there has to be a scene way before the scene I'm thinking of where he shows up. And I can't think of it. I don't know when.
Oh man. I'm, have to be patient, but
we're building it up. Yeah. We're building it up.
Burgess still looks ridiculous with that beard.
Yeah, he does.
That's not a face for a beard. It's just weird. Oh gosh, but they leave. Luffy immediately gets distracted. Is like, is the taste test over already? It's like, these aren't free samples. You have to pay. It's like, wait, hang on. Don't worry. Which one do you want, Lucy? I was like, oh, you're buying? Is this a friend of yours? And she buys Luffy a meal. It's like, oh, thank you.
That's all right. We're immediately homies for life.
Yep. So we find out this is the lodgings for the Colosseum gladiators. Most people just call it the cells. And she finally takes off her helmet.
It looks like a jail.
Yeah, it's just straight up jail. The guest fighters never come down here, so you can lay low until your fight. So you could have some peace. And we finally get a proper introduction to her because she takes off her helmet and we see the full look. And God, she's such a good design. Yeah, she's Nami, but the hair does change a lot of it. And
I do like the sort of woven kind of pigtail look, or not pigtail, like ponytail.
Yeah, it's the hair does a lot for it, and she's another Nami design, but
worth noting, her hair is pink.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
sure,
yeah, why not?
Yeah, it makes sense. Very interesting interactions here, though. It's like, oh, these Colosseum lunches are good, but aren't you hungry? And we get this little flashback of like, Mother, I'm hungry. It's like, no, I never get hungry. Huh.
Man, right. Oda is really like with Rebecca, he's playing his cards so close to the chest, where we're getting
really is.
all of these little teases about her, like what's going on with what's her story with everything. I just love that Luffy's like
she has little hands in the pot of all over the place. It's fascinating.
Yeah, she's got the connection to the toys. They're just it's interesting.
She's kind of a central figure. It's really becoming. You can tell obvious.
She's going to be important. I like that Luffy's just like, oh, so you're like a samurai then. So just immediately clocking like, okay, yeah, she's like, putting on airs basically, just like Momonosuke and Kinemon.
Yeah. But all of a sudden he's grabbed from behind and somebody claims, "Do it, Rebecca. That's why you brought him here, right?" And Luffy's just like, "Hey, what is this, Rebecca?" And hey, careful, I got my food. And he's sort of struggling. And Rebecca goes, her eyes go shaded, and she goes to stab. And Luffy bites the hand of the guy that's holding him, and is able to smack him down and dodge the strike. And she swipes, and he just calmly jumps out of the way while eating.
Yeah, I just completely casually, just pins her down, and then I kind of, she's ready to accept her fate, and is like, the most perfectly Luffy line ever. I ain't gonna hurt someone who gave me free food. But I tried to kill you. Well, I ain't dead, am I?
Plus, you weren't trying to kill. You weren't actually using a real fight.
It's a really good character moment for Luffy.
It is pure Luffy. As soon as she fed him, she just like, nope, I'll fight for you for life.
yeah, literally.
And the guy who tried to help out was like, whew, when a guy beats you that bad, it shows you mercy. Makes it pretty clear who the superior fighter is, Rebecca. It's too bad. This would have been a good opportunity to take out one more potential rival for the prize.
Yeah. And then we're seeing all these guys behind the bars who are just like, some of them are like, they're missing limbs. They're all bandaged up. Like,
yeah, we see these prisoner gladiators. They are all messed up, all in bandages to the point that Luffy thinks they're mummies.
Yeah.
And yeah. The fact that some of them are outright just missing limbs is nuts.
Yeah.
You don't see that often.
Yeah. Their whole stories. I mean, I guess it makes sense because, it's like a Roman Colosseum, right? Like, they fight until the day they're killed. And apparently all because they looked at the Doflamingo family the wrong way. So this is like their punishment.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they're being punished. There's two ways to get punished: this way or becoming a toy. And I'm wondering what the difference is. Yeah. I guess whether they're fighters or not. I'm
actually kind of curious to know if we'll find that out. I feel like I have an idea, but I'm not very sure.
Huh. It's also the stipulation is like, he says we'll be free if we win 1,000 battles, but even the greatest warrior will lose before his 100th battle to the death. So everyone who tried to escape otherwise was shot. So there is no escape for us. But a decade ago, before Doflamingo became king, these arena battles weren't to the death. So the light and darkness of his kingdom are polar opposites. And that's when Rebecca comes out and is like, no, it doesn't matter what it takes. I'm going to win today's tournament, and use the flame fruit to destroy Doflamingo. The toy soldier told me that he was leading his army against Doflamingo today, so in order to save us once and for all. He wants to give up his life to bring this country to its knees. And all of a sudden, once again, something clicked for me.
Mm-hmm.
We have the toy soldier who's missing a limb. And I look over at these prisoner gladiators who are missing limbs. It's like, oh, he's a gladiator.
Yeah. And even more interesting, because I remember you clocked that the toy soldier was kind of like his, or kind of like Rebecca's like lover at first. But we see them like this one little flashback panel where he's like, the brave and loyal soldiers ever at your side. And you just get a little peek at what looks like a very young Rebecca.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that the first time around, but he's like standing guard. So it might be a father figure, and with their strength, I'm going to revise it. Or just, here's another prediction for you for the future. I think this is the gladiator that has the statue.
And well, we what we know now, based on the information we know right now, right, is that like when people are turned into toys, they are forgotten. And so we know that nobody remembers the gladiator. Like they see the statue, but nobody knows that he existed. So you might be onto something there.
It does make a certain amount of sense, and got her gladiator abilities. For one, the fact that he'd want to protect her. For another, I wonder if he tried to go up against, because, yeah, you've said that she's 16. 10 years ago, she's only 6. That matches the ages we're seeing with these flashbacks.
Oh.
I think we might know why he lost a limb. I think Doflamingo has his calling card.
Yeah, I was going to say, Doflamingo is not above ripping off limbs, that's for sure.
No. Ooh, I love the meat behind this toy soldier all of a sudden. That's cool.
He's a real, what turned out to be kind of a, he seemed to have an ulterior motive, but now we're, again, just the way that all of these kind of plots are all kind of interwoven with each other is really interesting.
Yeah, it's just fantastic storytelling all around, and a nice way to end off the set, because it's like, I'm gonna do it before he can. I'm tired of being the one getting helped. I want to protect him this time.
Yep. Also, one last an observation I just had. Okay. We're not even underground, right? Like here we have like the prisoner gladiators who are, basically Doflamingo's like prisoners, and like this isn't even. It's almost like a side thing. Like it's kind of like, no, this isn't even. We're not even at the underground factory or whatever yet. Like this is just like something else that he's doing just to do it. So it really does feel like this whole Coliseum just like has Doflamingo's dirty mitts all over it.
It really does.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
I'm loving how complicated the setting of Dressrosa is, because it isn't as simple as like, oh, Doflamingo took over and like he's making life living hell for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. He really is kind of putting that celestial dragon status to use, where we kind of have, again, we have, it feels like multiple levels almost of like Doflamingo wants to keep up appearances for like the normal people, and then is just going to abuse anybody who crosses them, and is going to make sure that like they don't see the light of day.
Yeah.
And that has
that ability with all his underhanded dealings.
Yeah, that's what makes it really fascinating, and it makes it more interesting than just like, oh, like this place is just like it's like a complete hellhole. Like nobody's happy here. Like this really is. It feels like Doflamingo's in control at every level.
And we still have no idea how Law ties into Doflamingo and all this.
That's also true. Yeah, there's that motivation too.
All of a sudden, it makes so much sense that there's 80 chapters left of this arc.
Yeah, things are getting deeper.
I am loving this though. This is so good. It's so good.
This really feels like One Piece has kind of hit its stride again.
Yes, without a doubt, it is. I am sucked in a way. I am so looking forward to just continue to read and see more of these chapters. It's good.
Not to tease out too many things, but there is one thing in particular that we are really close to, like maybe 10 to 15 chapters away from, that is like one of that's probably the moment that made me flip out the most this whole arc.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that would be.
But there's also like, there's a lot of things I remember happening, and I'm like, wait, that means the events that I'm remembering are all going to happen in the next 10 to 15 chapters before we get to the moment that makes me go, oh my God. So I'm just kind of like, I think the brakes are about to come off.
I mean,
is what I'm saying.
It feels like it, because they're building up for this whole final battle with Doflamingo. Law is definitely in trouble with Doflamingo. We're getting to Block D, which who knows how long that'll take. That might be finished next time.
I forget if they said or not. Like, is it like a quarterfinal, like a semifinal, final kind of thing?
I don't know.
Like,
they just said the ones who won the right to challenge Doflamingo's men.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So I don't know how that's going to break down or anything like that. But the other thing is, I'm honestly not sure if I don't know if Rebecca can beat Cavendish.
Oh, that's the thing. Right. Yeah.
Those two are together. Haven't really seen a whole lot of the others that are in C. Those two have definitely gotten the most attention. Mm-hmm. So it feels like it comes down to two of them, unless some sort of swerve is thrown in there. But I'm hoping for Rebecca to win, but
yeah,
honestly,
she definitely feels like she has the most. Well, that now that we, I feel like, have the most kind of emotional connection to her as the reader, is just like, and now we kind of have the stakes of what happens if you lose.
Yeah,
like things are personal.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Oh, man. It's going to be a long wait till next week.
Yeah, it is. But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 716 to 720 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or simply BitNerd on BlueSky. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am Brandon Bovia on Twitter and BlueSky, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job, and that's really about it. I did see, kind of hilariously enough, there's a YouTube comment. I think by this point, it would have been on last week or the week before. I don't really remember. But there was something that just happened in the manga that ties back to something that happened in that set, one of those chapters that was just kind of like, God, Oda, everything comes back around.
I swear the timing for this podcast continues to be impeccable.
Just utterly fantastic. Yeah, no, we keep getting lucky. So I'm excited.
Except I'm completely in the dark in this case. I have no idea what that could possibly be.
Yeah, no, you won't. My lips are sealed. But I am, again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, just like I feel like I've kind of undersold Dressrosa a little bit.
I think you have.
Yeah, which is weird because I like pretty much all of the other arcs after this better, and maybe that will change once we revisit them. But like, it's always been the one that I like but don't like as much as, the preceding stuff. Really, but like, this is amazing. So I'm like,
that is insane.
What am I thinking? I don't know. Maybe we'll revisit the when we get to the stuff further on. Maybe it'll be like, it wasn't as good as Dressrosa. Who knows?
It'll be interesting to talk about.
Yeah,
that.
But so far these first 20 chapters have been some of the best One Piece.
Without a doubt. So, anyway, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derrick Bittner. That's DerrickBitner to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early, as well as listen to our patron-exclusive bonus episodes. And as far as our bonus episodes are concerned, we're still going through those Oda before One Piece, so look forward to those. We also, of course, have our Q&As, so keep an eye out for those. But otherwise, make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 721 to 725 of One Piece, the quarter mark of Dressrosa.
Oh my God.
So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Straw Hat Luffy in the flesh! Ooh, I want to talk to him, but I think I'm too shy! Please wait for me!